Welcome to Money Matters. I'm DCrowell from Mortgage Network, and I am here today to try and take world events, world economic events, look at them through a prism of money and money matters and economic matters, reduce them to national events and reduce them to local events. So what's the impact on Beaufort County of all the grand and wonderful and complex things that are happening in the world? Emily Johnson, who is my co-host, is not able to be here today. So in the first half of the show, today is Friday, September 8th, so you will see this throughout the next week. And Hurricane Irma is bearing down on us at this very moment. It appears that an evacuation notice will come out for sometime tomorrow noonish or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. Saturday the 9th, it appears that that's the next step. So when you see this show, you'll know what actually happened. Now, let's talk about the economics that accompany a large storm like this. And we have a couple of really good test cases. Hurricane Harvey, which hit the greater Houston area and then moved on to Louisiana, is right in our 2020 hindsight at the moment. And so we can get a very good perspective of what the economic cycle is surrounding a major disruption, a major weather event of this sort. What happens, I'll approach it somewhat heartlessly because obviously the dimensions of such an event have an enormous amount of human suffering and human dislocation. From an economic point of view, the biggest dislocation immediately is joblessness. There are a great many jobs that are directly dependent on the orderly day-to-day activities within a city, within an area, within a community. So when you look around, a very high percentage of jobs are directly dependent for all hourly employees, directly dependent on life proceeding in an orderly manner. What does a major storm do? It does the opposite of that. So it disrupts orderly behavior. Hourly employees, every business that puts plywood up, every business that shutters, every business that is shut down for a period of time of days or a week or 10 days or whatever, there are a group of employees associated with that business, hourly employees associated with that business, who have no work. That's the immediate and profound impact of a dislocation. Those people then, on a delayed basis, 2 to 3 weeks later, turn up in the ranks of the unemployed and are obviously, hopefully, eligible for unemployment compensation. Houston, for example, in Harvey, represents about 4% of the U.S. economy, and that's a big enough number for that jolt to the job numbers to really affect the overall job numbers. So I believe that it's expected that in the third quarter, jobless or job numbers for the United States, that we're going to see a job loss, a net job loss of about 37,000 jobs greater than previously expected, almost entirely attributable to Harvey. Irma is bigger. Irma is cutting a wider swath. Irma is looking like causing greater destruction. And it's coming right on the heels of Harvey. So it's not unreasonable to expect an immediate third quarter, fourth quarter job loss from Irma of another 50 or 60 or 70,000 jobs in the southeastern states. Add them together, and you've got about an $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 job loss, radical job loss in the third, fourth quarter, enough to make a big difference to the national numbers. Another aspect of all of this dislocation, this big event dislocation, is that there is a rebound effect. It's already being predicted by economists that in the first quarter of 2018, the greater Houston area will have a rebound in which there will be much higher rate of hirings and a rapid expansion of the construction industry, renovation industry, all of the industries and secondary and tertiary industries that are associated with putting things back together again. So a deep dip followed by a rebound as funding becomes available, as businesses get back on their feet, as houses begin to get repaired, and so on. Houston had approximately was running, or the greater Houston area and Texas was running with a 14% increase in new house starts through the storm event. 14% for the year-over-year increase in new house starts. It has now stopped dead. So what will come out of that and how Houston will recover is, of course, a very big question. All of that new house start energy will be diverted to home repair, to home restoration, and no one knows quite the extent of that. Another big issue is flood insurance is commonplace and required by finance companies, by mortgage companies such as Mortgage Network in coastal areas. They're so-called flood zones. All of Hilton Head is a flood zone of one sort or another, one level or another. And as a blanket statement, a mortgage lender such as ourselves requires flood insurance on every single property that we finance, without exception. Go over the border into Bluffton, and flood insurance is not required as a blanket statement on virtually anything. Now there's exceptions. You know, directly on the May River, some flood insurance is required. Directly on some of the estuaries, the tidal estuaries, flood insurance is required. However, blanket statement, flood insurance Hilton Head, no flood insurance off island. When you look at Greater Houston, about 50% of the homes had no flood insurance. It's not a flood zone. And without flood insurance, the damage that's done is a net and absolute loss. So the effect of Hurricane Harvey was massive flooding. As you have been watching it roll out over the last 10 days on the television, the most extraordinary damage done by flooding. The storm comes and goes, but the flooding remains. And any home experiencing that flooding is either a tear down or a total rehab, and without flood insurance, that is a net loss to somebody. A net loss to somebody, either to the owner of the home or to the landlord who owns the home. The situation in our arena, in our Beaufort County arena, is not dissimilar. More recent houses and houses that have been financed are all pretty much guaranteed to be carrying flood insurance. the houses that have been built most recently in the coastal areas are all most likely to have flood insurance. That flood insurance was activated in Matthew, in Hurricane Matthew, just 1 year ago, and we all know how complicated and how difficult that process can be. Okay, that's enough for segment 1. I'll be back in segment 2 to discuss this further.